slide. It has been 14 years since a Canadian finished a season leading the CFL in receiving. Tyson Philpott, currently second in the league with 564 receiving yards, on pace for 2,000. Will he get there? 5 touchdowns, no interceptions in his first 2 games, both wins. But he has come back down to earth since then. 0 TDs, 5 picks in his last 2 games. Can Cameron Dukes turn it around against the defending champions on Thursday Night Football, presented by New York Fries? Hello, Canada. Welcome inside the CFL on TSN Studios. Kate Burdess alongside Jim Barker, Davis Sanchez, Milt Stiegel as we get set for the Montreal Alouettes taking on the Toronto Argonauts. And we just found out Keon Julian Grant will not be in this game this evening, injured in warm-ups. That is a tough one from the get-go. And for the Toronto Argos, this has been a tough stretch, the last 2 games at least. And Cameron Dukes getting pulled in that last game, Milt. And we just think at this point you need a little confidence, running the ball maybe a little bit more, but this is going to be a tough test for them.
It's going to be a tough test. Cameron Dukes, his toughest opponent is not the Montreal Alouettes today. It's his head coach, Ryan Dinwiddie. Because I have a feeling that if Cameron Dukes struggles early, I give him a quarter and a half, Ryan Dinwiddie's going to make a change. We saw it in last game when the game was still in the balance. Against the Rough Riders, he took him out. So Cameron Dukes has to play better earlier in this game or he won't finish this game at all.
They have a better chance to win with the third-string quarterback in there, with Crum. Do you think so?
With Crum? With Archer? I mean, with
Arbuckle.
Yeah.
Well, he's going to find out.
Yeah.
He's going to find out.
Look, I think you have to give guys a shot, and I think your best chance to win is with this young man. He's made some plays with his legs. I know a couple of interceptions weren't his fault. The first 2, you could argue, weren't his fault. I let this guy play, but hey, we saw what I'm with you. I saw what Scott did. I think I saw what Ryan did. I think that I agree. At least he's short.
Well, a big part of how Cameron Dukes plays is up to Ryan Dinwiddie and the kind of formations and the kind of plays he calls for him to not put him in position to have to win the game. Put him in position to manage a game. Let Kadeem Carey, let Tavares Daniels, let some of these other guys take the pressure off of him so he can just go out and do what he did early in the season. First 2 games when Dinwiddie was calling genius games. So I think the pressure's on Ryan Dinwiddie.
Yeah, and things turned for Dukes, too, when he played against the Montreal Alouettes. So we'll see what happens in this one tonight. Montreal are going to start 6-0 for the first time since 2006. And by the way, shout out to the Montreal fans, too. Love seeing this stadium packed once again. Should be a great one. We'll get you there right after this.
Is that a Davis Sanchez shirt? No, I'm sorry.
No.
Sorry.
That fast. It wasn't explosive like we saw the last time that the Owls played here on Thursday Night Football, but eventually they got the wheels turning, and all of a sudden it was a downhill train that could not be stopped by the Stampeders.
Yeah, it sure was. One of the things that really stood out to me is you look at that game, and yeah, they had to try and get things going a little bit, make some plays. Because they were behind in the ball game, he throws a couple of picks, still completed 83% of his passes.
It was super high efficiency. They were down by 15 points at one moment in that game, and they needed to find some solutions, and it was the high efficiency passing attack and also the running game of Walter Fletcher that we started to see get them back on the path as we see Fajardo over his last 13.
Yeah, and obviously the quarterback doing his part, contributing to this outstanding win streak. The wave that Montreal has been riding.
115th game played in the CFL tonight for Cody Fajardo. As he steps out of the pocket, looks downfield, one-on-one. He'll pop and try and get around the edge. And somehow on the wet turf, here in Montreal, he did stick that right foot in the ground after evading the oncoming Jonathan Edward, but it will not be enough for the first down.
And nonetheless, a good sign for Montreal when Cody Fajardo gets on the run a little bit. I think this is something that is going to help keep that Toronto defense honest in this ball game as they try to take away the big plays from his receivers.
We talked about it the last time, but seeing him him run like that, comfortably, in rhythm, that looks like Cody Fajardo in the best season he's had in the CFL back when he was in Saskatchewan. And a lot of Alouettes fans very excited about even plays like that don't produce points. Give them an opportunity to believe when he's healthy, he can be a true dual-threat quarterback. Jamarian Grant returns this 50-yard punt up to the 30. And the Argonauts get the football back, trailing early on by a score of 1-0. Cam Dukes trying to get him on the board when we return.
Thursday Night Football is presented by New York Fries. Give your taste buds something to cheer about at New York Fries.
Beautiful night here in Montreal after the rain passed through. I know our friends out in the Maritimes dealing with the heavy stuff right now. Hope that they get through unscathed as Cam Dukes will hand this one down inside. The running game trying to support him, but man, it has been a completely different story. First 2 games 2-0, last 2 0-2, and it's obvious why.
Yeah, and the things that stand out, obviously completion percentage and the touchdown to interception ratio being huge. Again, not to beat a dead horse, but this is about the situations in which he has been forced into in the last 2 games, whereas the first couple of starts for Dukes this season, I think Ryan Dinwiddie and the Argos offense were kind of dictating things. The last couple games, defenses have dictated, and situation has dictated Dukes having to step out of his comfort zone.
Quick little play action this time, easy completion, blocking downfield is Rasheed Bailey. Makes the grab. The leading receiver for these Toronto Argonauts coming into tonight has himself 22, now 23 targets.
Yeah, and I'm kind of excited to watch Rasheed Bailey this season. You and I have talked about it. This was a free agent signing that I really like, is I think this is a guy who was always capable of bigger things, but just there's so much depth in the receiving corps in Winnipeg. There are going to be limited opportunities for him to shine. But here in Toronto, a different situation. He has certainly had an early impact for the Argonauts.
They use him all over the place. As here he'll be blocking as they run it right in between the tackles. And Kadeem Carey rocking down that near hash on first down. A good chunk, which is something that the Argonauts do a pretty good amount of, is run the football on first down and get good gains.
Yeah, Kadeem Carey in the offensive line, a key for Toronto against this Montreal team, and particularly a Montreal team that's dealing with a couple of injuries. You want to try and wear them down. I think for Montreal, as hot as they have been, Montreal has their eye on that bye week next week.
Trying to get to the finish line on their first third of the season. Toronto wants to disrupt it, as this time they go back down inside running game. First down Argonauts. And this will certainly make Cam Dukes feel like he's got a lot of breathing room behind him and lots to gain moving forward as wholesale changes here, substitutions going into first down.
And we'll take a look at this very cohesive Toronto Argonaut offensive line. Going to work with the veteran Kadeem Carey. Banging around in behind them.
Your fellow foodie Ryan Hunter.
Yes, sir.
Banging around that time with Darnell Sankey pretty good right in the middle. Great matchup to watch all night long as Deonta McMahon checks into the game. Dukes rolls to the left, blows it up, goes cross body, and it is caught running away from traffic and down the right sideline. It looks like Richie Sindani, yes, makes the grab. Sindani, limited opportunities this season, just his 13th target. No touchdowns, but he gets a big chunk that time.
You're going to see Sindani motioning down the line as he's going to work across the field here. Putting himself in position, recognizes zone coverage. He's got a little bit of space, doesn't run through it. Sits down in the opening, allowing Dukes to find him. Big play after the catch. For the former Regina Ram, Calgary Dino, a little bit of time in junior ball with the Calgary Colts as well.
Dan Adeboboye, Canadian running back, gets the touch here down at the 18-yard line. So that'll be a gain of 5. Second down and 5 to come as they rotate the backs. They've gone from Carey to Deonta McMahon, and now they put in the Canadian Adeboboye.
Yeah, pretty good three-headed monster in that Toronto Argonaut backfield. Wondered a little bit in the offseason if the injury to Daniel Adeboboye late last year maybe changed Toronto's plans, if they were looking at him as the heir apparent to Andrew Harris, maybe going Canadian in that backfield, but a little bit of uncertainty with Adeboboye coming off injury, but he's looked terrific through the first few weeks.
The Argonauts this season, just 8 score zone opportunities, 5 score zone touchdowns, both low in the CFL. They are in the score zone now, inside the 20. They'll check it down to Adeboboye. Makes the grab, rally into the tackle.
And certainly for a guy like Noel Thorpe here in Montreal who values versatility, those interchangeable pieces, an opportunity to bring the former Stampeder into the fold was too much to resist. And particularly as you've had Reggie Stubblefield injured at the nickel spot, now Dubois injured at safety, Wall proving to be a very valuable pickup.
Miram Haralahu from 29 yards out. As always, swings through this one smoothly. Just 2 touchdown drives in their last 28 possessions. But the Argonauts are on the board in Montreal. The monster rip for about 31 yards.
Yeah, you see the power of Adeboboye in the run. So Jeffrey Canton-Arcou, who has been so important to this defense, the rotational player, gets caught in an awkward position. Watch the receiver, Rashid Bailey, is going to motion to the backside and block. Canton-Arcou is on the end of the line. And that right leg just got caught in an awkward position on the cut block from the receiver. So again, obviously a big hit just in terms of the scheme defensively for the Alouettes. But remember, Canton-Arcou becomes relied on a little bit in terms of that ratio as well, with a Canadian starter and Marc-Antoine Dequoy out of the lineup. One of the ways that Montreal balances that, keeping their 2 Canadians on the field on defense, is getting Canton-Arcou involved in the rotation. They didn't directly replace Dequoy with a Canadian at the safety spot, but more snaps for Canadian Derek Wigan in the interior of the defensive line, more snaps for Canton-Arcou at linebacker, and they lose a little bit of flexibility here.
We get another look at it on the backside, and that right leg just looked like it was set up well outside of his body's frame, as he thankfully does walk off the field. So the good news is they don't have to get the corner. He was actually jogging off the field here. That's great to see Canton-Arcou get that look, but you're right, if he's down, it's time to find some creative problem solving as a slap on the shoulder pads from head coach Jason Moss. You saw linebackers coach Greg Quick as well. They're standing alongside KD Davis, who's on the roster and trying to sort things out. Byron Archambault goes over to have a word with Canton-Arcou as well. So they'll sort out the substitutions here, but more shuffling of the deck on the back end for this Alouettes defense. Cam Dukes, meanwhile, quick throw outside. Bailey makes the grab easily on right there alongside Deontay Ruffin, who's tied for second in the CFL with 2 interceptions, including the one that ended the game against the Calgary Stampeders last week.
Yeah, big one for Ruffin against his former team. He's been one of the mainstays on this defense this season as some pieces around him have moved around. He has started every game at that always challenging boundary halfback spot. His play has been a bright spot. Wesley Sutton has played a lot there the last couple of years. He's out with injury. Ruffin has been terrific in his place.
I haven't said the name of Tyrese Beverett much. Wonder if he makes a play here. They send Ruffin empty out for Dukes. Now he's got to scramble to his left, throw across his body into the end zone, and it's a touchdown. DeMonte Coxey hauls it in, and Cam Dukes making a play with his feet all the way to that left sideline before finally Coxey got open.
Yeah, Dukes doing a nice job.
Going on there defensively for the Argos.
Yeah, the screen has just not been Montreal's thing here tonight. Pick six by Winton McManus earlier in this second quarter, and as you saw that time, things just didn't shape up as desired for the Owls.
And Winton locked in on Walter Fletcher and where he's going, knowing how much the Alouettes love the screen game, especially with Caleb Evans in. Fajardo done for the night. What looked like a hamstring injury. Now Evans steps up, tucks and runs, and bounces through traffic all the way up to the 50, and he reached it out. And his body mechanics and momentum just leaned him forward. He happened to have the ball in his left hand, and it might have been enough. It will be an Alouettes first down.
I remember talking to Caleb Evans after his big part of his focus was adding a little bit of weight, trying to be a little bit stronger when he was carrying the football. You see the benefit of the work he's put in on that right there.
Four receivers to the left. He'll complete this one to Cole Speaker. Tackled right around the 55-yard line. As Speaker continues to chip away.
Yeah, emerging as this week's go-to guy in the Montreal receiving corps. Good start for Ryan Dinwiddie and the Toronto Argonauts. I go back to the point I made off the top. Need to play from ahead against Montreal. Calgary did it for as long as they could last week. That's why they gave them such a great fight.
Inside handoff. That's Fletcher. Off to the races. Cuts back to the outside. Walter Fletcher. A huge touchdown against the Stampeders. He was aiming for the end zone here. Pushed out of bounds. Inside the 10-yard line. It's a running game. The Alouettes steps up in Cody Fajardo's absence.
Well, you think all the time about looking to the pass game, trying to push the ball deep, thinking that's where you're going to get your big plays. How many big plays have we seen from Walter Fletcher through the Montreal Alouettes' first 6 games of this season? Whether it's been on a short pass, so you see him here to the right of your screen, inside handoff, kind of counter motion with Speaker motioning out of that backfield. And you get to see the moves and speed of Walter Fletcher in the open field.
It's amazing how often in the CFL, all the window dressing and the layers of motion and crossers, and it's just an inside. Can you get to the second level and move some bodies?
Yeah, it's not about being able to do a million different things. I think it's about being able to do a handful of things very well, but making them look different.
And one of the things Jason Moss told us is Caleb Evans loves getting some run support, if you will, here in midsummer. Is that he said that they basically started training camp, didn't go back to page 1 of the playbook. They decided, no, you know what, we got a lot of continuity. We got a lot of players who know what they're doing around here. Why don't we just go ahead and run the stuff that we are already comfortable with, but just add layers on layers on layers to it? As the center, Justin Lawrence, was slow onto his feet and makes his way off to the sideline. And so Philippe Gagnon checks in.
Yeah, Gagnon slides over right from his guard spot. Not bad to have Christian Matt, the veteran, as your 6th man coming off the bench.
Caleb Evans hands it off inside. Jesuit Antwi. I had a feeling Antwi would refuse to go off the field. He came over after that long Fletcher run and did the old, are you good? You sure you're good? Because the ball's inside the 5-yard. You're sure you're good?
You look exhausted, buddy. Yeah, I'm just thinking of you.
Well, Fletcher watches on here after Antwi hits the carry on 1st and goal. And the ball down at the 1. Rambo, the lone receiver, split out wide to the top. Snap comes up to Evans. Flips his hips, gets outside. Tyson Philpott walks in and adds to his touchdown tally in 2024. Makes it 5.
Immediate protest from the Argos secondary here. I think it was the safety. Royce Mechie is trying to follow Philpott out into the flat. But watch from the right here. The offense would like to sell that as a rub, but that, my friends, is a pick.
But if the ball is completed behind the original line of scrimmage, which is...
Yes.
Yeah, we'll talk about it in a second. Here's the two-point conversion attempt for Caleb Evans. Looking to his right. Can't be hauled in for two. Shedler Furbius missed out on that one. He'll want it back. But they started Tyson Philpott on the line of scrimmage, right? Which is when you think, well, you're not going to run a swing with him when he's on the line. And then all of a sudden, he's bouncing backwards. And that gave them the touchdown. Running some of those picks that you speak of as Tyson Philpott was first in the CFL, tied for first in touchdown receptions with 4. He now stands alone in the first game of Week 6.
Take a look at the big play on that drive to run from Walter Fletcher. That sets things up in close. Short run by Antwi, and there you see. Yeah, and good pickup by you, Marshall, to recognize where Philpott was when he caught that football, which allows Reggie White to make that key. Now we can call it a block, right?
Yes. Yeah, Caleb Evans wanted that one. Understandably, it would have been cherry on top here at the end of the first half to get the two-point conversion and tie this ball game up. Remember that one as these teams go back and forth in the second half. 17-15. And now tons of running room. Right up the middle of the field. Is anyone going to touch Janarian Grant? Back-to-back weeks into the end zone. 102 yards. Janarian Grant for 6.
And how is that for the necessary response? The value of Janarian Grant in the return game. You wondered in the offseason, how are they going to replace Javon Leake after the monster season he had last year on special teams? Janarian Grant, a pretty good answer.
Janarian Grant adding some firepower to the Argos special teams unit, coached by Mickey Donovan. Byron Archambault, you saw him there from Montreal shaking his head on the sideline, wondering why did he get right up the middle here without really any contests, as it'll officially go 103 yards to the house for number 3.
Yeah, Janarian Grant untouched on this one. And you just see his conditioning coming along too as this season progresses. As there was no slowing down. In the final 15, 20 yards on this one, he's still running away from people.
Watching on.
So much for my touchdown.
Well, he did so much work to get down the field with Montreal's offense, and immediately Janarian Grant wipes that one off the board.
Let's go.
With his own major.
Family, I love you, baby. All the way.
Earns a dance in the end zone. Having some fun Thursday night football as the Argos battling against the undefeated Montreal Alouettes. Scored on offense, defense with Winton McManus, and now special teams with Janarian Grant. It's probably going to take all 3 phases to beat this Alouettes club based on how their year has begun. Can James Letcher Jr. answer? A solid return up near the 40-yard line that time, and so out comes Caleb Evans, who's got to be thinking, man, I had all these good vibes going on. We're in the end zone, and then it's a drop on the 2-point and a kickoff return touchdown for the Argos.
Yeah, and sometimes you kind of like these ones, not the situation that leads to it, but the chance to get back out there right away. It's not like he's been standing on the sidelines for a long time with the other team driving, getting cold, losing that momentum. But for him, just moments ago, he let it drive, touchdown drive, through a touchdown pass, and he just looks to keep that momentum going.
Evans over the middle, throws it away from Winton McManus wisely. It's completed to Reggie White Jr. Had his big return here a few weeks ago against the Ottawa Red Blacks. A couple of touchdowns and a big win over Ottawa that night. It was 47-21. Explosive plays from Cody Fajardo all game long. So he's done for the evening. injury at the end of the first quarter, if you're just joining us. So Caleb Evans will control with 10 seconds on the clock. Steps up in the pocket, gets it away into the feet of Charleston Rambo, incomplete. And with 6 seconds here, this is likely all about managing the end of this half for Jason Moss and the Owls.
Yeah, you are not in a real hurry to kick the ball away, knowing that the guy who'd be catching it at the other end of the field has already really hurt you tonight. Not just the touchdown, but providing a couple of big returns.
They just go with a short yardage sneak here, even at their own 50, and they will get the first down. Those interesting ones where you go, best option, yeah, you don't want to punt it away, you don't want to do something silly where you're throwing it backwards and burning time. And so Jason Moss just tells his usual short yardage quarterback to go and get it. He does successfully. And the Argonauts up to the test so far here in week number 6 against the Alouettes as Evans, what should be the final play of this first half, checks it down underneath, and Cole Speaker stumbles his way across the 50 before he is brought down. So Montreal will get their choice of how they'd like to begin the second half after winning the toss to open up this ball game. They deferred Winton McManus all over the field. That's nothing new for 48.
Yeah, we talked about him off the top as basically the need for him to be the guy who balances the energy that Darnell Sankey provides to fuel the Montreal Alouettes, and Winton McManus, I think, matched it and more in the opening 30 minutes of this football game, Marsh.
When the Argos defense is at their best, he's usually their best defender. A lot of turnover on this roster, including 2 new starters and 5 new defenders since week number 4 in their matchup against these Alouettes.
All right, here we go.
As Kenzie Lalonde is with Winton McManus.
Well, Winton, let's just start with Janarian's run there, 102 yards. What was going through your mind as you saw him?
We knew it was time for him to break 1, maybe 2, maybe a third. He's got a lot of game left, but we knew we were going to get 1.
For yourself, you got the first major of the game. How early did you read that play to intercept it and get the touchdown?
Just going through my reads, seeing it all break down, slow motion, just trying to make a play for my team.
Best luck the rest of the way.
Thank you.
Kate, over to you in the panel.
Well, back alongside Jim Parker, David Sanchez, Milt Siegel, take a breath after that second quarter. After the first quarter, we were all sitting here. We were like, what the heck are we going to talk about? And the biggest storyline has to be, of course, Cody Fajardo going down. And credit to Caleb Evans. Of course, he had the bad pick there to Winton McManus. But after that, he settled in. And then Janarian Grant, I mean, the whole thing went off the rails in the second quarter. But Milt, seeing Cody grab that hamstring and so much talk about the short week, playing Saturday, playing today, I mean, it's a concern.
Yeah, and you hate to start off our half talking about that, but it's the biggest story of the game so far. You're talking about the MOP candidate, the man who's led these Montreal Alouettes to 14 straight victories, and now he has this injury. We heard his head coach during the week says football was not meant to be played every 5 days, so I'm sure Jason Moss is thinking that this is the reason why his quarterback got hurt. We don't know that, but this is significant to this team because we don't know how long it's going to last. You know, those hamstring injuries are very tricky. You think you're healthy, then you come back out and you strain it again. So they have to be careful with this. The one thing they have going in their favor is they're going into a bye week, so they have a little bit more time to determine when he's going to be back.
The great Hugh Campbell used to always say, or at least happened to me one time, with the hamstring, when you feel 100%, take one more week because you don't know that fast movement you're not used to.
Well, Caleb Evans comes in and immediately gives Toronto a touchdown with throwing that interception, and McManus, a great play. But then he comes back, 2nd and 10, and he completes this ball to Rambo. And then he comes back, gets blitzed, and takes the hit and throws a strike. That was a big play for him. He then brought him down the field again, and again, a touchdown to Philpott, who's building up a lot of those this year. So, again, great job by a quarterback coming off. Yeah, he made the mistake, but he didn't let it get to him. He took him down and got the score.
He made the mistake, but that was a great play by Wynton McManus. But can we, and that's an Argo touchdown, can we somehow find the film? Can someone roll earlier, pregame, you guys talking trash?
Yeah, of course.
Somebody find it up there, please. I'm taking the Argos defense at plus 500.
Wow.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter the odds. If you want to win this game, just pick who's going to score a touchdown.
Why do you keep doing that?
Why?
Guys, learn how to play the game properly. Plus 500. It's a long shot, but I'm swinging for the fence. I'm a little bit behind, as you'll tell by the leaderboard. I got to swing for the fences here.
Got it right.
Davis,
So
we're
well.
all proud of you.
There it is. Wynton McManus. That was a good job. He kind of hid behind there and made a good play. Wynton McManus is a really smart football player. There's no question about it. That's a tough mistake. And, all jokes aside, one thing, and you guys said it before the game, and we say it all the time, when you're the backup quarterback, try not to lose the game. And that's, I think one of the things, and I don't necessarily believe in that, because I think when you're a quarterback, you come in the game, you try to win the game and do what you can do and make plays. And I think there are circumstances in which you'll have to try to go win the game.
Right.
And depending on the team around you, there's circumstances in which you need to, just not lose it. But one thing, the Argos are allowing 60% defensively this year, 60% on second down conversions. That's the worst in the league. Mm-hmm. They got to be better on second down.
When he gets the interception, it's called a toothpick, just not a regular pick, huh?
Oh. He should brand that. I would, honestly.
Good.
And you know what, too? Janarian Grant, every single time this guy has the football, it's magic. It really, what a pickup for the Argos at this point. And he's trying to make a point, too. But this is just a thing of beauty, Coach.
Just incredible. Right through the middle. And then the acceleration right there. You don't see that in players.
You like him. He's the best returner.
I'm just thinking that.
I just thought he was on the street for a couple weeks, just doing nothing.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they picked him up at the end. And what a phenomenal pickup. And I think he's the best in the league at what he does.
And when you have a young quarterback, too, and he creates field position and score like that, that's big for these Toronto Argonauts. So great pickup.
Now, we talked about Cameron Dukes and how big this game is. And, again, 9 of 10, 82 yards.
Solid.
No turnovers.
Solid. That's the key.
That's the key.
Congrats on the TD pick. I know it was plus 500, which is nice. I'll tell you this,
Congratulating him. He didn't do anything.
I don't want to brag, but Philpott got his touchdown. I think a 4 for 4 at this point.
What about your girl, Helen?
You know what? Let's talk about Helen. Helen Mullet of Vancouver, BC. You have just won groceries for a year thanks to Save on Foods' $1 million touchdown to win. Congratulations. And great news, if there is another kickoff return for a touchdown, come on, Grant, in today's game, you could win $1 million.
That is Helen.
Come on, Helen.
Maltos with the big field goal here to close down the gap to the Toronto Argonauts as the Kickers tons of success early on this season. With more, let's go down to Kenzie Lalonde.
Yeah, Marshall, in the last 2 games, Liam Haralahu for the Argos has contributed to 21 of their 43 points. He's 2 for 2 here tonight, and you look at him mastering that skill of kicking. He actually leaned on golfers during his time at the University of Western in the sense that they have similar mechanics, muscle memory, keeping her head down. Every year, around twice a year, he reads the book Golf is Not a Game of Perfect by Dr. Bob Rotella. Helps him overcome setbacks and the mental resilience you need. And also, while he was at Western, he took it one step further and has pursued his master's in sports management and leadership. And for his dissertation, he wrote a 60-page paper on the mental preparation of specialists. Dwayne Ford, I'm still waiting to read your dissertation from the University of Western.
Keep waiting, Kenzie.
I was just going to ask how much you had to pay Kenzie to do the weekly sponsored Mustang section.
Well, Kenzie moves up in the rankings, the reporter rankings, with 2 Western mentions in one hit.
Hors-jeu, Montréal, numéro 98, sur une pénalité de 5 verges. On reprend le premier essai. Offside, Montreal 98. It's a 5-yard penalty. We'll replay first down.
Liram's journey through the Canadian Football League, the NFL, testing his skills down there for quite some time, and he is dedicated to his craft. There's no doubt about that, to Kenzie's point. Joined the game from the sideline. Ironically, he and Dylan Wynn got into it earlier, and Wynn comes off the field here as Dukes, a little bit of a high snap, loads it up and takes a vertical shot, and this one's up for grabs and incomplete. They were trying to go to Coxie, was one-on-one with Kabian Ento.
And when we spoke to Noel Thorpe last week, Ento was one of the guys he talked about is really growing as we look at that matchup at the top of the screen. There you see Ento, the field side corner. Coaxey out wide, gives him that double move. And just talked about how well and how much improved KB and Ento is in coverage. And you think this guy was pretty good in his rookie CFL season last year, but has grown even more as he's become accustomed to the motion, the dimensions of the field, and so on.
Second and 5. Kadeem Carey gets the call. Had to make his way to the 50-yard line, as he'll try to find the buckle on the side of that helmet and strap it back on for 3rd and 1 as they'll send out the heavies and go for it.
Yeah, kind of a no-brainer in this part of the field. You got an opportunity to keep the ball, keep the Montreal defense on the field. Again, you know that group is a little bit banged up. Want to try and wear him down every chance you get.
Dukes goes left. Looks like he's got the 50-yard line. As he's picked up by Ryan Hunter there. Interesting journey for Ryan Hunter as he helps push Dukes across there. A goalie in the early days.
Yeah, former hockey goalie. You know, and I mean, we knew the trend was towards bigger goalies, but I don't think 300 pounds is quite what the NHL has in mind.
Why not?
Yeah.
Stack the pads at 300? Who says no?
Yeah, a young man from North Bay who moved on his own to Buffalo, New York to play high school football in the American system. That translated into a scholarship to Bowling Green University in the MAC Conference.
Great player, great to have him here in the CFL. Is big contact in between the tackles on that play. Kadeem Carey pounding it alongside Ryan Hunter. But yeah, being with the Chiefs and also kind of picking the brain of Mitch Morse, used to be a center with the Chiefs, moved on to play in Buffalo as well, and trying to up his game, being around a lot of guys from the National Football League and bring those skills here to the CFL.
Yeah, a lot of very successful veterans. I have to say, we had a bit of a stepbrothers moment. Did we just become best friends? Talking to Ryan as he brought up throwing a brisket on his smoker at home.
Yeah, you weren't impressed by the chicken cutlet, but he got the smoker conversation going. That's when the magic happens. Now, a big sack. Mustafa Johnson, and the battle continues as the Moose makes a play. And Noel Thorpe loves to see his defense get after the quarterback, especially on 2nd and long. Johnson wins the battle here.
Yeah, second man from the bottom of the screen, just inside Darnell Sankey on this one. Mustafa Johnson has really established himself in this, his 3rd CFL season, as one of the most dominant interior defensive linemen in the league. Cameron Dukes talked about the disruptors on that Alouette defense. Number 94 certainly among them.
John Haggerty will kick it away. James Butcher Jr. has been close a couple of times here tonight, but a beautifully placed punt will fall inside the 50. A flag is out as well, and that might help the Alouettes' cause because that kick and coverage was elite from the Toronto Argonauts. That's the end of the 3rd quarter. We will update the flag for you when we return to begin the 4th. The Montreal Alouettes, 10 straight wins in the regular season, 13 including the playoff, their longest stretch ever. But the Argos trying to end the party here and even out the season series. We'll find out who takes it in Q4. Numbers after 3 quarters of play. The only one that really matters right now to the Montreal Alouettes after all the success they've had. 5-0 to start this season, and they're trailing. This is pretty uncommon territory for a Montreal club that's found a way regardless of the situation. If Montreal is going to get back in this thing, Dwayne, how are they going to do it?
Yeah, and the biggest thing is going to be exactly as they would do it with Cody Fajardo in the lineup, quite frankly. I mean, look for Caleb Evans to put the ball in the hands of people like Tyson Philpott. Cole Speaker had that terrific first half. I think they've got to get it back to him. Charleston Rambo got going for a little while as well. So let the playmakers make some plays for him. Walter Fletcher's been a forgotten guy in this ballgame too.
And Ryan Dinwiddie wandering down to go see Nick Arbuckle and have a discussion with him. So perhaps we'll see Arbuckle coming in, as there was a legal block against Montreal at the end of the third quarter on the punt return. And they begin with an incompletion as well. So now 2nd and 10, backed up in your own end and trying to get back into this ball game, trailing by 9.
Yeah, and this is a huge second down for the Montreal Alouettes as you think about if Toronto's able to force a quick 2-and-out here, and particularly if it's a 2-and-out with no gain on this second down. Think about what the field position looks like in what is already a 2-score football game.
Royce Mechie paroling the back end. As now Caleb Evans on a quarterback draw from his own 10-yard line, steps up and is tackled right there. So 3rd down, 2-and-out for the Toronto Argonauts defense, and they will get the football back, and we will see whether or not Nick Arbuckle is indeed going to come out and play quarterback in the 4th quarter to close this thing down.
Yeah, that certainly looked like a little more than a friendly hello from head coach to backup QB that we saw moments ago. But interesting that Argos up 9 if they are contemplating a change, admittedly. A couple of touchdowns coming from specials and defense. But
Joseph Zima will kick this from his own end zone. Janarian Grant's going to start from the 55-yard line, sets it up, and heads down the sideline. Josh Renantwi, great job keeping him outside. As Cam Dukes does come back out onto the field, so the conversation that time maybe from Coach Dinwiddie was, hey, if we're going to shut this thing down, I need you to keep your eyes on blank, right? We need the best intel possible from Nick Arbuckle and use his eyes to our advantage even without him on the field right now. Dukes begins with a handoff to Kadeem Carey. Again, that quick jump cut, stutter step, and the blocking off that left hand side of the O-line for the Argos, getting it done with a big gain of 9 on 1st down.
Yeah, great way to start. And it's, you know, we see Nick Arbuckle on the sidelines. I also suspect sometimes that communication between he and Ryan Dinwiddie, who go back to their time together in Calgary, that I think sometimes Arbuckle has become the conduit between Dinwiddie and Dukes. As Cameron Dukes has talked to us extensively over the course of this season about how much he appreciates having the veteran quarterback there and his influence, his wisdom that he's been able to share with the young guy.
As they show run here, handed off, and somehow Carey got past the knifing edge defender. It looked like Tyrese Beverett was the one that timed it up perfectly, but Dukes made him make a decision real quick and made the right one.
Yeah, and I think a little bit of the impact that affects Tyrese Beverett on this play, you're going to see him shooting in off the right side, and he kind of overruns the ball carrier. And part of this is we've seen what Dukes can do with his feet and his change of direction, what a threat he is. And so Beverett is very aware of maintaining his contained position on that.
Snap pops up, and they'll hand it off again in between the tackles. And the Argos, full believers in the running game right now. Tyrese Beverett. So asked Walter Fletcher earlier this week, who's the one guy in your defense you would not want to see? Just see, Bev.
Yeah.
Still, I don't want anything to do with that guy.
Yeah, he just has a knack for getting involved. I think he and Lorenzo Malden, the guys that the Hamilton Tiger Cats may look at as the ones who got away. A couple pretty good defensive players who may develop but ended up with divisional rivals. Beverett, he's been the guy dropping back to cover the safety responsibility a lot in this ball game, in this interchangeable parts defense at Noel Thorpe.
Dukes looks into coverage, completes it, and breaking across the field, Tavares Daniels with the ball in his hands, and it'll be another first down for the Toronto Argonauts. But you're right, Dwayne, Marc-Antoine Dequoy being out tonight, we've been tracking who's been playing in the quote-unquote free safety spot, because you can slap a name on the roster, but it doesn't necessarily mean where they're going to be playing. And it looks like Bryce Cosby is leading the way right now. About 15 snaps with Tyrese Beverett and Ajay Murray all getting some looks.
Yeah, and this is always kind of the thing for the Owls defensively is moving people around, different people doing different things. As Noel Thorpe said, you know, Tyrese Beverett is listed as a will linebacker, but that doesn't explain at all what he does in our defense.
Keeping the running backs fresh, Deontay McMahon gets a touch here as we roll towards 10 minutes remaining in this fourth quarter, opening up week number 6, and Montreal with their backs against their own goal line here, deep down inside the score zone.
Yeah, again, the exchange of field position on those last possessions kind of looming large as Dukes and the Argos look to take advantage of a short field here.
2nd and 7. This is the down and distance. Montreal has feasted defensively throughout the year. They'll send the pressure off the edge. Dukes gets it away. Completed. McMahon cuts back to the 10-yard line. And is wrapped up there by Jeffrey Canton-Arcou. And what will the Argonauts do here is wandering off the sideline for a second was the field goal unit.
Yeah, we saw Tyrese Beverett turning up that free run into the backfield off the other side moments ago. Here he brings it from the defensive left. Dukes releasing the ball out to the right for a short pickup.
Ryan Dinwiddie on the call sheet. Cam Dukes communicates to the other 11. As Isaac Adeyemi-Berglund eyes down a sack. If he can go and get the quarterback in this snap, they'll never come up. Did they just go hard count and catch that edge pressure that Tyrese Beverett has been lining up snap after snap?
Yeah, I mean, this is great heads up, right? A response to what you see. You recognize that one of the most...
Montréal numéro 26. C'est une pénalité de 5 verges. Ça donne un premier essai à Toronto. Offside, Montreal 26. It's a 5-yard penalty. Makes it a first down for Toronto.
Recognize that one of the most disruptive of the disruptors, left side offensive left there is Beverett, is timing up your snap counts, right? He's reading your snap counts. He's trying to use that to his advantage, so you use that against him by changing up the count. Great job by the Argos O.
And you can tell what Cam Dukes was doing in the huddle when we had that shot of him saying, I'm not snapping it. Nobody moved. This time they'll look to hand it off. Deontay McMahon driving to the end zone. Touchdown Argos as they extend their lead and look to end the Owls' hot start to 2024.
Well, you think of Deontay McMahon as a scat back type, but he shows some power and balance on this one. Running through a tackle on his way into the end zone. Fighting off contact to add to the Argos' lead.
The Montreal Alouettes this season allowing 19.8 points per game, best in the Canadian Football League. 8 touchdowns they've allowed all year defensively. As this kick is good. Well, now they've given up 34 points in the offense without Cody Fajardo, trying to find answers, but having trouble keeping pace with the Argos ground attack. This time it's Deontay McMahon into the end zone. Cam Dukes loves it.
Step into the action with CFL Game Zone. Play games, win prizes, and connect with fans from across the world. Join the ultimate CFL fan experience today at gamezone.cfl.ca.